Are you struggling to stay positive and hopeful while dealing with your chronic illness? Has your illness impacted your relationship with family and friends? Do you want to regain your sense of belonging and have more love and compassion for yourself? Welcome to the Invisible Illness Club. If you're ready to learn how to live a hope-filled life with your chronic illness, grab your favorite drink and listen in. Welcome back, friend, to the Invisible Illness Club podcast. I know that normally I bring you just me talking for about 7 to 10 minutes, but today I am introducing my first guest. And so from now on, you will hear every other week a guest interview. And I'm super excited about this. These interviews will be people who are dealing with chronic illness or people who work with chronic illness or both. So hopefully you can glean something from them as well as the quick little episodes that I give you. Today I am introducing Nicole Roth. Nicole is a health restoration and joy coach who empowers the hard-on-herself woman of faith to kick out shame, restore her health, and step fully into her God-given purpose. She's also a wife, mom of 3, autoimmune warrior of 20 years, and just might be recording from her hammock or her camper. Today, we're diving into Nicole's journey with Hashimoto's, how she shifted from surviving to thriving, and why joy goes hand in hand with healing. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome, Nicole. It is absolutely great to have you here. Thank you for being my first guest interview.
This is so fun. I'm telling you, I had no idea. God is he's so full of wonderful.
Isn't he?
It's awesome.
Well, I want you to take us back to the beginning. Okay. So what did life look like before your diagnosis, and how did that shift once you were diagnosed with Hashimoto's?
Yeah. So I lost my dad to suicide in 2005, and literally everything, my whole life turned upside down after that. So not only was I diagnosed with Hashimoto's, but it was, for a lot of y'all out there, you might not even have a diagnosis, which it took a while for that to even happen. And that's a whole other conversation about, am I crazy? Am I just totally losing my mind here?
Right.
No, you're not. So that I also was diagnosed with postpartum cardiomyopathy, which so there's so much going on, so much swirling with the grief and just everything, trying to just be a human again. It was like, what in the world just happened? Everything has gone south, and I was a very healthy, active, vibrant woman. Just to give you an example, I was pregnant with and this is not like, but just to give you, the extent of my whatever. I was a hospital-based dietitian. I worked on the 7th floor, and I was pregnant with my oldest. Now she's 21, but I took the stairs. I'm like, come on, let's do this. So to go from that to, I couldn't walk across my house. Like I couldn't, I was so dizzy, so weak, fatigue, just so much swirling around. It was awful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Now, you mentioned in your questionnaire something about your NAP team. Can you explain this NAP team to us? Because I think in the middle of all this, you're figuring out now you can't even walk across the house. You've got to figure this out. So tell us about this NAP team.
Well, I wish I could share the pictures here, but we have 5 dogs, and they're all rescues. But my main buddy, to the sidebar, because I was so sick, I didn't want to be the sick girl. It was like I fought against that with everything in me. So I have, of course I could take a nap in my bed every day, but I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be sick. And so I actually created, and I highly recommend this for anybody. If you've got a big enough closet, I put a mattress in my closet, and that's been my sanctuary, my safe space.
Yeah.
And so my 2 of the dogs, Keller is my main buddy, my nap team. But anytime, doesn't matter what time of day, doesn't matter, if he's already even sleeping, I say, Keller, you want to take a nap? And I can say it just like super quiet. You want to take a nap? And he's like, yes, I do. He like runs to that back closet. And the sweetest thing, I have cried so many tears in that closet, but he has been out of, my family, whatever. He has been, and of course the Lord, he has been my faithful companion. Like, and he'll stay there until I'm done sleeping. I mean, it's just every time. Like, it's amazing. And I don't even know how, I lose track of time. Time goes so fast. But anyhow, he's older, 8 or 9. Anyhow, but he's my boy. And so then I've got secondary nap team is Maggie. She's our pandemic. She's a pandemic puppy. High anxiety. She actually doesn't know. Most people don't even know that we have her, but she's part 2 of the nap team. I have one on this side, and then he goes down here. Anyhow, it's been so sweet to have that support, because who else is gonna, people.
Oh, I know.
Lives like, I have 3 daughters, but they're not gonna, come sleep by me. So.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, my nap team is my 2 puppies. I mean, if I take a nap, they come climb in the bed with me. So I'm going to call them my nap team now, because that's just awesome. Well, you talked about how, you would cry many times in that closet. And I'm assuming, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that this is partly about the grief and the isolation that happens when we have an autoimmune condition, that now we can't do what we used to do. We become a a shell of our former self. So can you talk a little bit about that grief and that isolation?
Yes, gosh, it's been so hard. And just like the name, just this like invisible illness, no one would think, you and I, like,
right.
Like, there's nothing wrong. So there's, so that's difficult to not have any visible things going on. So there's that. But the isolation for me, it's been with the food sensitivities, and so then everything's about food in America, and so in the church, it's like, let's do a potluck. I'm like,
no kidding.
Yeah, it's been so hard. And then it's, it's uncomfortable to be like, oh, I've got this thing that I can't do, blah, 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 blah. And I don't want to be that girl, so that just feels rude. There's just so many layers to all of this. And then it messes with marriage. I mean, it impacts every finances, like every aspect of life has been impacted by this one thing. And so, to not have others understand, to go to all the doctors. I mean, for years, I just went, it was like a hobby. That's like, what do? I go to doctors, like professional doctor goer. I mean, and it actually became an idol because I was so desperate. Like, somebody please listen to me. Like, I don't want to just have a slapped on label and a medication. Like, can I please feel like a person? And so that was so difficult, so isolating. And then the grief of course, losing my dad. And he was the one person, I mean, I love my husband, I love my family, but he gets me, like, he knew me and was my cheerleader and, just 100% biggest supporter. So to lose that as well, it was like, gosh, it just felt like my whole world was crumbling.
And I can imagine, because like you said, especially in church and family, there's a lot of food related things that are happening. I mean, I think there's a potluck every month at church, and that had to be extremely difficult to be in that situation, trying to not only navigate new diagnoses and what you're going to be, having to eat and not eat and all those things, but also to do that in a way that felt good to you and didn't say, hey, don't forget I'm sick, know, because that's not easy either. You want to kind of do it in a quiet way, most of us, because we don't want to bother other people. Let them enjoy what they're eating. So this is such a relatable thing to the community, because we're all dealing with something like that. Where we're trying to navigate through the different changes that are happening and not be extremely loud about it, because we don't want it to be all about our illness. Our life is not all our illness. It's just a big part of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you telling us that story, because it is very, very relatable. And I am serious. I'm stealing nap team for my dogs.
Totally.
So you mentioned a huge turning point in your questionnaire about when a chiropractor who's not a traditional person
Right.
to deal with something like this. But
Yeah.
tell us about that and what it was that he believed about, what y'all were talking about and
Yeah.
how that changed things for you.
Yeah. It was such a blessing. So like I said, I mean, for years, so I was diagnosed in 2005. That was in 2019. So
Yeah.
time had gone by. Again, I feel like I'm in the Dallas Fort Worth area of Texas. I've seen everybody. Now I've seen all of them. I feel like, nope, crust, no, yeah, I know that.
Yep.
Nope, I know that one. I know that one. I tried all the natural, the regular traditional route. That was my background as a dietitian. Then I went over to the natural route. I'm like, I've done all the things. So, my kind of the scenario would go, I'd see a new person, whether it was, a traditional doctor or a natural person. It's like, here's your protocol. Here's your, hundreds of dollars of supplements. Here's the thing. Go do the thing. And it was like, wash, rinse, repeat. I do all the things. I try to follow all the stuff. And I wouldn't feel any better. Nothing. It was like, I am wasting my time, my money, and my energy, and I'm not getting anywhere. And it's so frustrating. And it's so frustrating for my husband, and again, and then I'm a stay-at-home mom, entrepreneur, but, mainly stay-at-home mom, because part of it was I probably couldn't have held it.
Right.
But anyhow, so then there's the money, here I'm just throwing all of our money away, like on all these supplements. It was so maddening. And then the shame comes in, so like, oh gosh, which doesn't help. So anyhow, here, my mom lived with us for several years. And I kind of, encouraged her strongly that she needed to get help with some things that she was dealing with. And so out of all the things that we knew about, whatever, she picked this guy. We'd never been to him, but a friend had gone. I'm like, okay, I'll take you. I was shocked that he does acupuncture. I mean, it was like so outside of her norm. I'm like, okay, whatever.
Which we all try at some point. We go outside of the norm and say, well, if this didn't work, maybe this will.
Yeah. I was just going for her. So he starts helping her, and she's like becoming a new woman. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm driving all the way to Dallas. I might as well go too. So I start seeing him, and it was so amazing because everybody else that I'd seen in the past, it was like, oh, poor you, you have on the blank. And it's just like this heavy blanket of this is how it's kind of going to be. Even the health people, you're like, I don't want to be this way. I want to leave this diagnosis and all of this junk.
Right.
So he was really the first person that looked at me. I shared, my history. He's like, he goes, 2-3 months, you'll be fine, Nicole. I'm like, what? Like, come again? I mean, this has been 14 years. Like, did you hear me? I start seeing him, and in the midst of that, I was also going to, do you know about Revelation Wellness? It's a ministry.
No.
Amazing ministry. Highly recommend. They use fitness as a tool to spread the gospel. And so I started hearing about this, and I was like, I am not like aerobics coordinated at all. Like, you do not want me to lead. They have a program called to become a fitness teacher, gospel preacher. So I went through that program. So I was really learning about more of my freedom in Christ, and am starting to move my body. I grew up in Michigan, so being down in Texas, you're like, hello, it shouldn't be that difficult, to deal with cold and things, but given my my health and all this stuff, cold was like my nemesis. And so in the wintertime, I just would stay inside. And even though in the summer I felt good, I was kayaking and hiking walking and things, doing more. But in the winter, I shut down. It was like, and it would be 10 a.m. that I would miss appointments because I was so fatigued. I just could not. And so through this, Revelation Wellness, I was like, you know what? I am going to take back ground. Like, I'm so tired of just feeling so bad. And so I started to hike. I got the right clothes. I got the, all gear. And I was like, I'm going to be warm. I'm going to do this thing. So I started hiking. So in the midst of this, I'm seeing Dr. Kim, and I saw him on a Thursday. When you first go to a new doctor, you kind of go more truncated. And so I was seeing him on a Thursday, and I came back on a Monday. And I saw him, and he goes, what did you do? I went hiking. And he goes, your body completely different. And I'm like, really? And he goes, you just do that and you'll be fine. I'm like, hike? Like, go walk? He's like, yeah, 30. And then he's like, 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at night, work up to an hour in the morning, hour at night. He goes, you'll be fine. I'm like, okay, Dr. Tim.
If only they were all that simple.
I'm telling you what. So I did. I started moving my body. I started recording my miles. And right now, I started recording in 2020 in March. And I'm closing in on 5,000 miles. Like,
wow.
Only outdoor activity, biking, hiking, kayaking, walking. And it's completely changed everything. Because I was so filled, again, with the grief and there was so much anxiety, just so much self-rejection, shame. There's all this stuff looped in. And so my body didn't have a way to get rid of it, really.
Right.
So it seems so simple, but I'm like, that was really one of the most profound things that happened to me. And just seeing myself then not as a sick person, as a victim in this hopeless case, maybe I could actually start to feel good. That sounds amazing. So give me hope, and hope is everything. So I love what you're doing here, April, because giving hope to people and having other people hear these stories and go, wait a minute, I'm not alone. Because that's what the enemy said. You're the only one that's dealing with this. You're crazy. You're whatever, fill in the blank. And it's just not true.
Yeah, especially for those of us that can't get out as often or do as much physically, depending on the diagnosis. It can be very isolating and very, very difficult to feel like, other people get it. It's one of the reasons I jumped right into this because I knew that if I needed that, and I had, it took me 2-3 months to get 600 people on Instagram to follow me because it's such a needed space.
Yes.
And so I saw that jump happen so fast. And I was like, okay, if I need this, these people need this.
Totally.
And so it's one of those things that God just kind of orchestrated. And I took a little longer than I should have to get here. But
no should.
Right. My husband was told many years ago by a little old lady he was renting from. He had come in and he was saying shoulds, all over the place. And she said, you should on yourself. And so that is now my saying is stop shoulding on yourself.
That's right. That's so good.
Yeah. But, this is just such a needed space. And so getting to talk to people like you that have been through something and have found ways to make their life a little easier and a little bit better, or a lot easier and a lot better, depending on the situation, is just fantastic. I'm excited about that.
Okay.
So I know that your work is also centered around joy and faith. And of course that comes with hope. So tell us a little more about your work and your business and what, you do.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I think this is literally hot off the press. I just filled out this questionnaire just last week. On Saturday, I have been in, every marketing class, all the things, and they all are like, what problem do you solve? Who do you solve it for? I'm like, I still don't know.
That's okay.
Years, it's like, and the Lord's directed me to different. I have a homeschool mom. So, for a while it was homeschool mom. Anyhow, so he's kind of shifted things. But literally on Saturday, the Lord whispered to me, you empower women to transform shame into joy through a revelation of grace. And I was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I'm so excited, so fired up. That morning, literally, it just flowed out. I'm writing a second book, and it's been in the works for 20 years, which is hilarious. Wow. But I feel like that was the intro to this book, but it's all about this idea of shame. And I did not know that I even had any shame until the Lord directed me to read a book. It was years ago. Christine Kane came out with a book called Unashamed. I read that. And I remember thinking, I have a lot of issues, but that's not one of them. Like, I had no clue. And as I read that, I was like, okay, every issue I have actually is rooted in shame, and rejection and condemnation and unworthiness and all these things. But that's the root of it. And so as I started to, do my own work of healing, receiving God's love, starting to see myself through that lens of grace rather than that harsh taskmaster, perfectionism,
Right.
performance, drivenness, all of that, type A behavior. I started to shift in, the way I viewed myself. My health got better. Things just kept getting better. My relationships improved. My husband, as a parent, it was like, there's something to this. And I started to experience joy, and I wasn't joyful at all. So I'm like, I can't not share what the Lord has done, and like shout from, with the megaphone on the rooftops, because it's so sneaky and sinister. And again, I didn't know I had a thing. So how do you deal with it? You don't even, haven't even identified. That's the whole point. It keeps us.
Oh, it does. And I think we don't realize, well, number one, that shame is a lot of what that is, even if we're not the one that had that put on us, whatever that is. I think we don't realize how much stuff we have buried. I didn't realize how much stuff was buried until I married my husband, who has been in ministry in the past, and he's a deep thinker, a very deep thinker. He's an intellectual, and the way that he and God work and the way that he hears from God is very different than I've ever seen. I grew up in a Baptist church. Okay. So I didn't get to see as much of the movement of God and the way God can heal and move and do other things until I married him. Well, a byproduct of marrying someone who is very into God and what he wants out of his life is realizing there are things in your life that you haven't let go of yet, so that you can grow in that as well. And so over the course of the 7 years we've been married, that's a lot of what I've had to deal with. And so I've had to let go of a lot of shame and a lot of things for stuff I did, for stuff other people did, because we don't realize that that's part of the equation. So you call your business She Abides in Joy. I love that. I love that, because I am all about us, even on the worst day, finding a little twinkle, a little glimmer of joy, right? So I know you have a course called the Incubator Intensive. Can you kind of tell us about that?
Yeah. So I didn't name it. Like, oh God, this was aptly named. We are doing some serious battle here. And so the beta I did was 12 weeks long. That was last year. Then I, did it again. And the Lord, I call it bait and switch. Like I had my ladies signed up. We're ready to go I was going to do it for 16 weeks. We're going to have like a little pause because there was a lot, I was like, okay, let's spread it out. So 16 weeks. And then we got in the first week, the Lord said, I want you to do 2 weeks per session and to share I love to share resources of other people, other authors and things. And so it turned into a 6-month-long program. And I'm like, ladies, there's 17 women in the program. I'm like, are y'all down for this? And they said, yeah, let's do it. So I don't know if any of them would have signed up. It was like, God knew. He just knew. So anyhow, we went deep into battle and, dealing with shame and pride and idols and, just so many lies, and our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with others, codependency. I mean, we covered all the ground. And that is my book. So the Lord told me, he gave me the download for the 12. It was 12 weeks, but 12 modules that would become my book. I'm like, okay, we're going to publish this thing. That's awesome. So anyhow, so it's been so sweet. So going forward, it's going to be 3 pillars of 2 months each, to make it a little more digestible, because that was intense. But the ladies that went through, and they went through, like we ended up on the other side. I mean, it was so incredible. And the other thing that the Lord really impressed upon me was to create these small groups of 3 women inside of our larger group called Grace Grove groups. So they got in there in all those 6 groups, because I put myself in one too. I'm like, y'all, we all put our pants on. The enemy's coming for all of us. I need this too. So I put myself in a group, and all 6 of those groups are still like meeting and, sharing with each other. It's so, so powerful and so needed, because the church, unfortunately, is not necessarily the safe place. When you see everybody on Sunday, how's everything, fine, everything's fine. You put the smile on.
Right.
And even if you're crumbling inside, you're like, who do you tell that to? Excuse me. So I feel like this is such a need for women to have that safe place. And we don't stay, it's not like, oh, woe is me, and, my life is terrible. And, we all just, no, okay, that happened. That was horrible. Now, where are we going? Like, what's the next? What does God have for you? Where's the hope? Where's the victory? Where's that overcoming spirit? Whatever, where's the truth? Ultimately. Yeah. And so we do that work together, and it breaks shame like nothing I've ever seen, because that vulnerability, especially in that small space where we can really take the masks off and go, okay, this is what's really going on. These are the thoughts
that I'm not hidden anymore. It's out in the open. Anything that's hidden, the enemy can use.
Yes.
To stop us, to hurt us, to create more shame, all of that. Mm-hmm. It's got to come out in the open in order to be able to deal with it. So, yeah.
So it's been so fun. I love it. I'm like, this is the best job ever. The Lord told me I was a joy coach. I'm like, I don't know what that is. Okay. It's so fun to literally watch women transform their faces. Like, things change because they get they get unfettered from all the junk that's been weighing them down. It's absolutely beautiful.
It is really amazing to me to meet someone else who God said, I want you to create a safe space for women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I married my husband, I had a vision, and this wasn't a dream. It wasn't anything. I'm telling you, it was a vision, and I am not one to say I have visions. Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm the realist in the household, so I wouldn't typically do this, but I actually had a vision. We're driving down the road, and this thought comes to my head. I can see the whole picture in my head that I am speaking to women.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in this vision, I was on a stage. I don't know what that means for the future, but I'm telling you that I was speaking to women, that I was creating a safe space for women. Yeah. And so you said that, and I went, all right, we're keeping in touch forever, because that is exactly what I am trying to do here for women with chronic illness specifically, but women don't talk enough.
Yes.
And so that is what they need, is a safe space. Oh, this is so exciting. I know that based on some of the reviews you've had on your site and stuff, that your clients walk away with that confidence, with spiritual alignment, and release from the pressure to perform. Yes. They don't have to be okay anymore, and like you said in church, that is the answer. I'm fine, I'm good, I'm whatever.
Not a favorite, which we are, and that's good, but
that's true.
I just feel like there's so much pressure to serve, to perform, to do all the things, and to have then family and all the things, and so it's such a trap. And I'm like, you have been called out, enemy, and you're going down.
And now we have a joy coach here who can help you take care of that with the Lord. That is fantastic. I think my answer the last 2 Sundays that I was at church, I didn't get to go this last one, has been, God is sustaining me, because I'm tired of saying I'm fine, because you're not. If you're not fine, don't say you're fine. It is okay to be honest without spilling your whole story.
Right. I love that. That's really good. That's a lot of wisdom. It's still truth. That's really, really good. I love it. I love it.
Okay. All right. What is one thing that you hope every woman who hears this walks away with, knowing about whatever it is you feel they need to hear today?
Well, I think it's kind of what we're talking about, that you're not alone. Only one, April. You're the only one, fill in the blank.
Right.
You're the only one that's dealing with this. And that is the voice of shame. And so you're not alone. You're not crazy. You didn't make this stuff up. There is hope for you, to whatever that looks like in your healing journey. There's hope for a new tomorrow, feeling better. And whether it's dealing with these emotional issues or trauma, or, the onion, the layers of the onion, like go toward it, even though it's painful. Like I've never experienced so much pain, of dealing with this stuff, especially from childhood rejection, from peers over something I never said. Anyhow, so going
Right.
and like dealing with that was so painful, but the freedom on the other side is absolutely so worth it. So like get your boots on, get your sword out, and and go toward that pain, whatever he highlights. Like I don't feel like we have to go digging for stuff, like as the Lord brings things to mind, like he wants, I say he reveals to heal. He wants to bring this stuff up gently with grace when you are ready to go, let's look at this thought. Let's look at this pattern that you've had of performance or perfectionism or drivenness or whatever it is. There's a better way, daughter, and just to receive that love from him, and it's just such a gift. So you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to carry the weight of the world. And there are others out there waiting to support you and guide you along this path.
That is such a good message. All right. So I've got some quick fire questions for some fun before we wrap up here. What is your go-to comfort food that you can eat?
Okay, well, this is a whole new thing. I jokingly call myself a bread evangelist because I've been gluten-free for 20 years, but I've just discovered the beauty of einkorn wheat, which is the biblical wheat, and a lot of people with gluten sensitivity do really well with that.
Wow.
So there was a podcast that came out on Culture Apothecary, Alex Clark recently with this Sue Becker lady. And anyhow, so my friend sent that to me and I'm like, yeah, I've already heard all the things about, the gluten and the folic acid and the MTHFR, all this stuff. But I'm like, I'll be open, I'll listen. And I learned a lot of things. And so I just felt like Holy Spirit was like, go girl. Like, so I ordered 100 pounds of wheat. I'm not going back. And so over the last probably 3 weeks or so, I've been eating this, healing bread, making my, at home, milling my own flour and all the things. It is so fun. I'm having the best time. So it's just
you're going to have to ship me a loaf of that now because I don't have time to make bread.
Oh, it's so fun.
All right. What is your favorite scripture or quote that you come back to again and again and again?
2 Corinthians 12:9 for sure, that my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I didn't know how prideful, how arrogant, how self-sufficient I was. People, gently would point that out over the years, and the Lord finally brought me to the end of myself. But that scripture that's my life verse. And it's like, yeah, I can celebrate. I don't have it all together. I'm not ever going to, and that is the best news ever.
That's amazing. I love that scripture. And because in the questionnaire, you mentioned something that I say in the intro, are you currently recording from a hammock or a tent or an RV?
Not today, but I wouldn't be surprised.
That's great. That's great. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your story and your heart with us today. It's been such a blessing to talk to you. Where can people find you if they want to finally put on their big girl panties and work on this stuff?
NicoleRoth.com is the easiest place. I've also got a YouTube channel. Everything and all my social is She Abides in Joy. So you can find me in all those places. But would love to connect, send a message, reach out. I'm most active on Facebook. But yeah, it's great.
That's awesome. Well, if you want to be able to get some coaching or go through the program on Nicole's site, then you need to reach out to her. I may be going through it at some point after we move here. So, it's a great thing. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nicole.
Thank you, April. So fun.
Thanks for hanging out with me today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend who gets it. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Until then, take care of yourself. You're doing better than you think.